Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to our today's session, practical networking number 2. All right, we did already number 1. Now we are going to move on to number 2. All right. So if you never did networking practical number 1, please go back to networking number 1 before moving to networking number 2. But anyway, we can start from networking number 2. It's very, very easy. All right. In today's session, we are going to talk about wireless access point or router, how to access a wireless access point and how to do basic configurations, right? Let me go back first to my screen and you're going to see today's agenda, all right? Let me try to share my screen. Yeah. So we are going to see how to access a wireless access points, how to configure channel, how to configure security, how to configure MAC filter, and how to configure firewall, and so on, all right? But from the basic understanding, you need to master how to access a particular wireless access point. So as you know, a wireless access point is just a device, right? So if I'd like to do a few things about typing, let me check. So when we are talking about a wireless access point, we have to see a network device. That network device will allow us to connect wireless devices, right? But not only wireless devices, we can also connect wired devices, right? So we're talking about wireless access points. So what is it? It's a network device that will allow us to connect wireless devices, right? And sometimes even wired, all right? Because your wireless access point will come sometimes with port, right? With Ethernet port that will allow you to connect wired computers or devices, right? Like this one, let me first stop sharing and we are going to see, okay. So this is a wireless access point. So as you can see, so it's a wireless access point and this one is a link Cisco, all right? This wireless access point will come with some ports. You can see 4 yellow ports. Those 4 yellow ports, it's for Ethernet. So you can connect local area networks like LAN. Like you can have one switch, you connect it to this port, like another switch to this port, another one to this port, and another one to this port. That's going to be 4 switches. And those 4 switches also will have computers, right? So that small device can connect 4 switches, and those switches also will have computers connected. That will be even more than 100, right? Now, this blue is a DHL for modem, right? But we are going to see it later on. But you can see here there is also like a USB port, right? You can also use like a USB modem, or sometimes when you want to update the operating system of this particular wireless access point. But as we are dealing with small devices, we don't call it an operating system. You can call it a firmware, right? So sometimes you can try to update the firmware of this wireless access point because it's just a physical device. So it requires some programs or software to allow it to operate, right? So at the USB ports can allow you to connect the modem or sometimes also to update the firmware, right? And you can see just here, there's a reset button, this one. So this is a reset button, right? So we are going to see it later on, right? And this is the power supply, right? So you can plug by using, so you can plug your particular wireless access point, right? Now, when you are dealing with wireless access point, we are going to discuss about 2 scenarios, right? The first one, Sometimes your wireless access point is a new device. You just purchase a new device, or you are going maybe to deal with old device. All right, let me go back to my slides. Look at my screen. Yeah. So when we're talking about wireless, access point, so sometimes we can deal with what? New and old, all right? New device or like old device, old or used device, right? Now the problem is this. Sometimes, let's go for a new one, new wireless access point, right? When you are dealing with a new wireless access point, that device will come with what? Will come with default configuration, right? Will come with some default configurations that you can change, that you need to change, right? And besides those default configurations, what you need to put in your mind, this new wireless access point will come with what? There's an IP address, right? There's a username, there's a password, and a wireless key, right? So when you are dealing with wireless access point, like a new device, when you purchase it, that device will come with what? Like IP address, username, password, and wireless key, right? Now, the IP address will allow you to access the device. So for accessing the device, right? Because this device doesn't have a screen, right? No screen for the device. No screen for the device. So the device, right? So you need to access it. How you are going to access that device? You need that IP. Sometimes it can be 192.168.1.1, right? So the IP can be 192.168 and so on, right? So when you purchase a new device, that device will come with the IP address, username, password, and wireless key, right? The IP address will allow you to access the device because there is no screen, right? There is no something that will allow you to see what's there inside. So you have to use your laptop, right? Now, the IP will allow you to access the device, right? Now, what to do, right? So when you purchase, you can check like on top of the device, it's going to be written your IP address, your username, your password, and your wireless key, or sometimes, so it can be written, or you can check the documentation, right? So where to check those details, you can check the documentation that will come with the device, or stickers, or like on your stickers, right? Stickers like on top of your wireless access points, right? Those are the things that you need to understand when we're talking about wireless access points, right? Now, when you purchase it, you got those details, right? What you must do, you must get connected first. There are two ways of accessing your wireless access point, right? So, two ways of accessing your wireless access point, right? The first one, you can use wireless, or you can use what? Wired, right? So wireless means you need to get connected, right? What you must do, you go to your notification area, you click, so after plugging your device, so you go to your computer, you are going to check for the wireless name and you click on connect, right? So when you are connected, right, you have now to move forward, right? So you connect first to the device. When you are connected, you need now to get the IP address. So step number one, when let's say accessing using the wireless access points, right? No, using wireless way, right? Let's say it like that. So when you want to access, step number one, get connected. Get connected, right? You get connected. Step number two, use your IP. Use the IP given. Use the IP address given, right? So you're gonna use the IP address that's gonna be given, right? So how are you gonna use it? By going where? By going to any browser, right? So what you're gonna do, you are going to go to any browser. Like maybe you go here, you are going to type your IP address, maybe 192.168.1, right? So when you are going to type, so first you get connected. This one I'm gonna see it later on. So it's going to bring you to the login page, right? From the login page, you're gonna use what? You're gonna use your username and the password that came with the device, right? So you are going to punch your username and the password, right? So after punching your username and password, straight you are going to go to the configuration page, right? So what I wanted you to understand is this, right? When you do have a wireless access point, you're gonna check at the IP, your username, your password, and the wireless key. The IP will allow you to access the device, right? When you know your IP, go to any browser, you punch that IP address. So it's gonna bring you to the login form. Because you got your username and the password, you're going to punch them, right? Besides that, right? Let's go now in the second case. For the second case, where you don't know your wireless access point, username, password, or IP addresses, right? Suppose like it's a new job, like you got a new job, like a support technician or a sysadmin, and you don't know the details about a particular wireless access point. When you don't know those details, what you must do, you must reset the device, right? You have to reset the device, right? Or maybe if you purchase a second-hand wireless access point, you can reset. These wireless access points, as you can see, come with a reset button. You just switch it on and you press here from the reset button between 15 to 60 seconds, right? So when you press there, you have to wait, right? Between 15 and 60 seconds, right? And your device will be resetted, right? After being resetted, your device will come back to the previous configurations. How are you going to get now? Still, right? You have to check now the manufacturer of that particular device, right? You go to the manufacturer website, or you just type, you use your search engine, you type maybe HP wireless access point, or Dell wireless access point, or Telecom wireless access point. What are the default configurations? What is the default IP? What is the default username? You will see a list of people who are going to propose, right? Okay, let me go back to my screen. So what I was saying is this: when you are dealing like with an old device or used device, what you must do, you have to reset the device, right? And how to reset? Use the reset button. Use the reset button between 15 to 60 seconds, all right? Now, when you reset your device, where to get, so you need to check the manufacturer website. So manufacturer's website, right? In order to get what? In order to get your IP address, all right? Username and so on, right? So the manufacturer will tell you, like for this particular device, like the model of the device, use these details, all right? Or you can also do what? You can use search engine, and people will provide all those details to you, right? This is how you can access using wireless. Now, how to access using Ethernet cable, right? You can also access your device not only wirelessly, but by using what? Ethernet cable, right? What you need to do, you're going, where are my cables? Yeah. Okay, you can use this port, right? The yellow one, the LAN cable, right? You plug and you go to your laptop, you plug. So after plugging, right, you can also go to command prompt. Sometimes when you don't know, right, you only type the command. Oh, let me try to share first my screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, you go to CMD, you type IP config, right? From IP config, you will know your IP address, the IP address that the device like assigned to you. They're going to be like a subnet mask and the default gateway. So this default gateway is the IP address of the device, right? So your wireless access point will have an IP address. That IP address will allow you to connect to other networks, right? We call it default gateway. So this IP, this 10.0.8.1, you can go to any browser, you punch it, and right, and you can access the device. So it works also sometimes when you don't know the IP address. You can only connect to the device and go to command prompt. You type ipconfig, right? So you type the ipconfig, the command. It will tell you the details related to the IP address, this IPv4 address. This is the IP that the device gave to you, that the wireless access point gave to you. And this is the subnet mask. And this 10.0.8.1, this default gateway, is the IP address of the wireless access point. And you can use that IP to your browser, you punch it, and you are going to go to the login page, right? And from the login page, you can access the configuration page, right? So very, very basic, guys. Yeah, okay. Let's try to move forward. Okay, when you access now your device, right? We are like in this lab, you already know how to access your wireless access point, how to change the name of your SSID, podcasting channels, and so on, right? We are here, right? When you access the device, you are going to go to the configuration page. From the configuration page, you are going to have like a screen that will allow you to do basic configurations. Like for this particular Linksys, you are going to see the model like of the wireless access point. You're going to see some basic setup. From wireless, you can change some few configurations, from security and so on. So when you click on setup, you are going to go to sub menu, right? Now, what are the things that you have to change, right? like you need to see, like from this one, you can see the router IP address, you can see the router to modem setup. Like suppose like you have a modem, you have to connect people to the internet. You can go through a router to modem setup. When you are dealing with DNS, we are going to see what does it mean. Or maybe if you are dealing with DHCP, DHCP means you are assigning like IP addresses automatically to devices. Yeah, now when you are in, what are the basic configurations that you must do, right? Oh, you are not seeing, okay, no problem. What you need to understand is this: when you are in, as I was saying, you can see the model of the router, the versions of the firmware. So I told you the version of the firmware is the version of like the operating system that your router uses or your wireless access point uses. So that one will allow you even to update it and so on, right? I told you that you can update your firmware. And here you can see the model of your wireless router, right? And you've got so many tabs that you can go through. Like here you can click on setup, and you can see submenu with so many items that you can configure, right? And when you click like on setup, you can come on this particular page where you can configure some details related to your modem. Suppose like you got a modem, here you can configure your IP, your router IP or wireless access point IP. You can disable DHCP. You know that computers will get the IP automatically, right, from your device. Like when you go where there is wireless access point, when you know the wireless key, the IP will come automatically, but you can disable it. Here it's a DNS. We are going to talk about it, right? Now, what to do when you access for the first time your wireless access point? Number one, you have to change the IP address that will allow you to access the login page. You must change it. Number two, you have to change the username and the password, the default one. You have also to change the wireless key, right? Those are the stuff that you have to change. Sometimes there is no wireless key. Sometimes the wireless key can come with a device, or sometimes it can be like open, no wireless key, right? So let's go back to my screen again. Okay. Now, there are a few configurations that you can do, like here from administration. From administration, you can change like your router password and so on, right? And beside that, there is what we call UPnP, Universal Plug and Play, right? So it's just a protocol that will allow you to let your computers talk, right? Because you're gonna have so many computers or devices. Those devices need to communicate. How they are going to communicate, you have to enable what? UPnP, Universal Plug and Play. When you put this one off, network discovery will be very difficult, right? For you to view other computers or for other computers to get connected, it's gonna be a problem, right? And beside these configurations, you can also like update your router. You can update the firmware, right? As I told you, wireless access point or router comes with what? Firmware, programs to manage the device. You can update it by using the USB port, the one that I've showed you, right? The USB port, I think it's on, yeah. And besides that, later on, I will show you how to update the wireless access point firmware, right? Now, this is about like updating. Let me just leave it. Okay, you can also configure what? Wireless network name, SSID, right? So when I click here, like on my wireless signal here, so you're gonna see there is Richfield staff, Go10, Richfield student. This is the SSID or wireless network name. You can change it by going to what? You go to wireless and you go there you punch your new name. And the name that you're going to give to your wireless access point must reflect the business. So if it's a restaurant, you give it a name that customers can find so easily, right? And there is what we call wireless channel. Wireless channel means sometimes you want only what? Your signal to go very far. Or sometimes you are looking at the distance. No, you can look at the distance or you can look at the speed, right? So the channel, so it's like a virtual path to direct your communications, right? So you can say, okay, router 1 or wireless access point 1 can operate in channel 1. So channel 1 means that you are going to canalize waves using a channel 1. So you're going to create like a virtual path where waves will move between devices, right? And from there, like maybe for a building, you got 10 wireless access points. You can configure maybe building number 1, floor number 1. The wireless that's gonna be there, maybe you put it on channel 10, floor number 2, channel 7, because you don't want those channels to overlap, right? This is what it means. And a broadcast, wireless SSID broadcast means that sometimes you can disable your broadcast, your wireless broadcast. Means that somebody can come around your place and the person will never know that there is a wireless or there is Wi-Fi. Why? Because your broadcasting is off or disabled, right? So this way, you have to look at the business requirements. And maybe if you're working for a restaurant, you don't want people to come and ask you, what is the wireless name, right? You can just leave it like your broadcast can be on so that everybody from their devices, they can see your wireless access point, right? So if your broadcast is off, when you're going to click on network signal, you won't gonna see nothing yet, right? Nothing will appear, right? Now, let's move to wireless key, but I don't want you to use this one. This one is the old one, right? You know, while you have to encrypt your communication, because you are using waves, everybody can capture the signal and do with it whatever he likes, right? So what you must do, you have to encrypt your communication so that even if a bad guy can capture the signal, the person will never understand the meaning. Means what? When you do have two devices that are communicating using wireless access point, because they are using waves, somebody can just be sitting next to them with a, like maybe with a laptop, with a special program for capturing the signal. The person can capture the signal and decrypt the signal, right? Why? Because we are using a wrong wireless, a wrong encryption key, right? So you have to look at your encryption key or security mode. So it's written there. You can go for WAP2, right? But we are going to study these things in networking or practical networking number 3. Okay, so you have to choose a strong encryption, right? This is the meaning. Strong encryption means strong program for encrypting and decrypting data, right? But if you're using a weaker one, right, you can just go to the internet and look, right? Now let's talk about MAC authentication. Sometimes you can block applications, websites, or computers, right? You've got your wireless access point. You don't want people to access maybe Facebook. So what you must do, you can try to block Facebook, right? We are going to see it later on. You can restrict. So if you are connected using my wireless access point, right? So I can decide which websites you can use. So I can block them from my wireless access point. Or I can even block your computer, because your computer will have what? I can block your computer using your physical address or your IP address. Like your phones, your computers comes with what? Physical address, right? So I can just pick up that physical address that we call a MAC address and punch it here, and I can restrict your access to the internet or to other networks right? Beside that, we are going to see some advanced configurations later on, right? And there is what we call port forwarding. Port forwarding means that you are going to direct some requests to specific computers. You can have like a web server, like in your company, you got a website, right? You can direct users' requests to that specific computer, right? So when, like on their computers, when they're gonna type like 192.168.1.1, it's going to bring the company's website, or maybe a file server and so on, right? So port forwarding means directing some applications to specific computers, right? But we are going to see it in practical networking number 3, right? We're still doing the basic stuff. And there is also log files. Your router will have a way to log whatever that you are doing, like status of your device, right? And you as an admin or a sysadmin, you can go back to your device, check your log file so that you can understand what's going on, how your wireless access point operated, right? So very, very easy, right? So let me stop sharing. Yeah. So basically, guys, this is how to deal with wireless access point. What you need to put in your mind is, when I'm dealing with wireless access point, so I can deal with a new one or an old one. For a new one, I will have like IP address, username, password, and wireless key, right? The IP address will allow me to access the device, right? Now, when I know the IP, what must I do? So I must get connected to the wireless, right? How am I going to do it? I can do it wirelessly or using a cable, right? Wirelessly, you go to your notification area, you check the wireless signal, you click there, you are going to see the name of that device, and you click on connect, right? But if you're using a cable, you take an Ethernet cable, you plug to your computer, and you are done, right? But if you don't know the IP, you can reset the device. So as I told you, wireless access point got like one of the button, or sometimes it can be a hole that you can reset, that you can press for some few seconds, maybe between 15 to 60 seconds, in order to reset the device, right? And besides that one, there is also what, suppose like you are, this is a new job, right? So you just, you found like some wireless access point, you don't know the details, right? Like username, password, and so on. So what you must do, you know already, you can reset the device, right? And when you reset, from where you can get those details, you must look for the documentation. But if there's no documentation, you go to the manufacturer website, because every wireless devices will come with what? Will come with a model. You just take that model, you can use the search engine, or you can go to the manufacturer straight, right? You can ask what are default configurations for this particular type of wireless access point, right? Now, and sometimes also when you know, you don't know like the IP address, you can just go to command prompt. We saw it already networking practical 1. You can go to command prompt and you type ipconfig, you check for the default gateway, and that IP you use like any browser, it's going to bring you to the login page of the device. When you are there, you can use now your username and password. But if you don't know them again, go back to your manufacturer or go to the search engine, you can get the default username and password, and it's going to bring you to the configuration page. When you are there, right, from the configuration page, what you must do, you must change the default IP for accessing the device. You must change the default username, default password, and wireless key, right? Because people can get them from the internet or from the manufacturer website, right? So, and beside that, you need also to understand that you can update your firmware, the program that will manage your device. So you can update it, right? Beside that, you can also block websites. You can also not only block your website, like application specific word or computers. How are you gonna block like computers or devices? So I can only take your physical address, like maybe for your phone, for your computer, or MAC address, and punch it, and I can restrict, right? Besides that, also, we're going to talk later on in networking practical 3. We are going to see some other things, right? Thank you very much for today's session. For any issue, don't hesitate to contact me, right? Bye.